Hello, everyone, and welcome to HR Exchange Network's book review. This is where I, Francesca DiMeglio, the editor of HR Exchange Network, review the books that I've read as part of HR Book Club 2023. I'm going through the list of books that we have on our summer reading list for the year, and I am up to a book by Trisha Montalvo Tim, who is a first generation Latina executive, board director, investor, and speaker. From the start, I just want to get it out of the way. I am using Latino and Latina in this book review per Trisha's preferences. She explains this in the book. It is not a political statement by not using Latinx. I just try to use whatever the person of whom I'm speaking is comfortable with the most. And if you prefer Latinx, when I speak with you, I will use that as well. Latino and Latina is just the grammatically correct way. If you are a Spanish speaker or any Latin language actually has that. I speak Italian and it is the same for me. And I use the masculine O at the end of words and the feminine A at the end of words. And if it's plural, you use the masculine version. Again, not a political statement, just want to get that out of the way. Trisha is going to be one of our guests at the DEIB event for 2023. I'm really excited for her session, and that prompted me to start reading her book and get through it for a summer reading list. So the book is called Embrace the Power of You, Owning Your Identity at Work. And I really loved everything about this book because I could really relate to it. I too am a first generation child of an immigrant. And I too have experienced the differences in the professional world. My family is manual laborers. They came from Italy. They work as landscapers. They are entrepreneurs. They have their own landscaping companies. But when I went to college at a private university, George Washington University, most of my friends' parents were professionals, lawyers, doctors, dentists, you name it, not landscapers. Um, Most of my friends in college spoke only English. We spoke both the Neapolitan dialect and the Universal Italian at home. So I could relate on many levels to Trisha, also known as Patrizia Montalvo, to her story. And one of the first ways is early on in the book, she explains how she changed her name basically. She had been working, she lives in California, and she had been working as a child actor, aspiring child actress. And one of the agents told her that, she might get more work if she changed her name to a more American sounding name. Less ethnic name. I've heard this many times before myself. And then I just realized how easily I slip in and out of those two identities myself. I call myself Francesca. At home, everyone calls me Francesca or Franci, which is short in Italian for Francesca. And at school, all my life, my teachers made my name Fran, and I just went with it. I really don't have a problem with it, as Trisha does not have a problem with it. But she does recognize how this started, this whole hiding of her identity well into her professional life. And I think that's something that happens. And I have many Korean friends here in my hometown, and I know all of their ethnic names. Many of them actually changed them to American names when they came to the United States, because it was easier for the other people, but it does lose some of that culture and some of who you are in doing that. And I also think it depends on where you live. Trisha lives in California. I can't speak for her, but I live right outside of New York City, and I know when I was having my kids, I used Vincenzo and Pasquale for their names, and my sister's friends in Florida who had come from the Midwest thought I was torturing my children by naming them these ethnic names. And my sister said, yeah, not where we live. And it's true. It also depends on where you live. There are lots of people accepting of foreign or ethnic names here. But I thought it just tells the story so well, what it means to include people. Use the name that they are born with and that they prefer. Ask them first. You know, people I work with here, I have to say, at HR Exchange Network, asked me first before changing my name to Fran, and I was fine with it. And you know, I just appreciate that. It shows inclusion is top of mind. Another way she changed her look. She changed her look. She had lighter skin, and she changed her hair. She had very curly hair. And there's a poignant part of the book where her children, her two daughters, call her out on this and say, "You've been talking about everybody accepting who they are and sharing who they are." This was after she had written the book. And they said, "You have to go to your interviews, to your meetings, to your events with your curly hair, because that's who you are, and that's part of you know, what makes you look Latina." And she did it. It took a little bit of effort on her part. It was hard for her, because I think we also get so comfortable with taking on different personas in different parts of our life that it's really difficult then to kind of leap into expressing that other part of you. And I could relate to that as well, because I am the mom of two children. First of all, being a mom, I know, as Trisha points out in the book, she tried to hide her belly as long as she could. I did a similar thing when I got pregnant the first time. I didn't want my employer to know that I was pregnant until absolutely necessary. And we've set ourselves up in the workplace for this kind of thing. And I fear that, especially now with all that's going on with women at work and the law that keeps changing, and just this backlash on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, that it's only going to get worse for working moms. But it's even bad for dads, as she points out. Some dads don't feel like they can express the fact that they have a life outside of work, that their children need them, that they have some other obligations besides getting this report to you by 5 p.m. And so I understood that. She even points out that there are some parents with disabled children, like myself, who are not only dealing with full time employment and all the responsibilities that come with that and wanting to grow your career, but also have to deal with calling insurance companies, calling doctors, talking to the Department of Education about your student, your child's special needs and what they are permitted to have, and the kinds of help that they need. And then, of course, the actual care. If you're caring for an elderly or ill relative or a disabled child, or an ill child, you have medical care that you have to conduct. I feel like a nurse myself. I do feeding tube feedings, I administer medication. I will soon be giving growth hormones by needle every day. I mean, there's just so many things that parents in that situation have that employers might not think about. And HR professionals are, to their credit, starting to think about now. Another person that she points out is someone who has a mental illness and is trying to hide that from their employer, or who is struggling with some kind of stress, extreme stress or personal struggle that they're not sharing with their colleagues or their boss. And this impacts your work life. So, really great points about that. There were a couple of even amusing, or at least highly relatable stories that she shares from the book. She talks about the fact that she's a really picky eater, that her mom was a full time worker as well. And so she would make these meals on Sunday nights, and they only had the same meals 5 days a week. It was the same setup of meals, same routine. And so she was really taken aback when she started working and had to go eat these fancy meals out with colleagues. And she really couldn't get over the fact that she had to eat things like popcorn shrimp and these brie cheese hors d'oeuvres that made her want to vomit. And she wished that they would go to a different restaurant, and someone in the car had said, "Let's go to Olive Garden today." The person was saying it as a joke, and Trisha didn't realize it. She didn't say anything, but she thought about saying, "Yes, let's go there," because it was food she could relate to, and that was easier for her to handle. I mean, these are all things that you should be able to be honest about, and it shouldn't affect your employment. But it did. She felt like it would. And so it's really interesting points about sharing your full self at work. And I really related most of all to her discussion of wanting to be perfect. This is something that many women, many women fall into. It is a trap. And she talks about perfectionism and how this is almost like a disease for us. And we have to put a stop to it. And there is no such thing as perfect. And that's part of bringing your whole self to work too. Being comfortable with the flaws you have, and saying, I can't do everything. And that's really hard for women to say. And so I really recommend reading this book. She gives such great advice to HR professionals too, such as don't call it a diversity hire, because that's going to make your employee feel as though they were part of a checkbox and not that you value them. And that defeats belonging. You do not get someone to feel that sense of belonging if you're calling them a diversity hire. I thought that was the greatest advice, because yes, you are looking to have diverse people in your organization, but that does not change the fact that HR professionals who are hiring people are still making sure they are qualified, probably overqualified, and that they meet all the criteria necessary. It is about creating a level playing field and not giving someone an advantage just for their skin color. This has come up many times, especially in the week since affirmative action was struck down. She beautifully speaks about affirmative action and what it really means. Another reason you should pick up the book. And I'm going to leave you with a quote that she had: keeping something about yourself hidden from those around you prevents you from sharing the best parts of yourself with the world. Right on, Trisha Montalvo. Tim, I am with you, and I hope all of you are too. Please give the book a read, comment, like, and share this review, and join us at HR Exchange Network for the DEIB event, and also for all of the content that we share, including these book reviews and HR Book Club 2023. Thank you, and have a great day and a great read. Bye-bye.